Hey, welcome back to the 2-month review. Ignore everything that happened before. We are trying to get this all going again. I am Chad Post from Open Letter Books, and this is our weekly podcast in which we take one big book, one difficult book, break it down bit by bit, section by section, talk about it, analyze it, have jokes about it, have fun. Today I was going to complain a lot, but now that I've been kicked off of StreamYard, I'm no longer angry. I'm just disappointed thoroughly in the fact that we didn't get a book on the Indie Next list after it being like my only dream for the year. And I have no dreams left now that COVID has ruined society and everything. And that was the last hope. So my last hope is gone. I have all dark from here on out. That's that. This season, we're doing The Dreamed Part by Rodrigo Fresán, which is available on our website. It is available as an ebook for $3.99 at this moment in time, $1 of which will go to support independent bookstores. We had been giving it away to encourage you people to all join and watch us, but we are no longer doing that. It was a short, limited time thing only. And today on this episode, we're going to cover pages 112 through 155, which is the beginning two sections of the second part of the book, The Other Night, Irrational Catalog for an Exhibition of Restless Shadows. And as always, I am joined by Brian Wood, who is the author of Joytime Killbox. And how are you doing, Brian?
Oh, fantastic, Chad. I couldn't be better. It should be illegal to be as good as I am. The better question is, how are you?
I'm not good.
Good. That's good to hear.
Good. I'll do one bit for posterity that I have to teach on Zoom constantly, like every day. And I've been on the phone today since 10 a.m. Most of which was not necessarily positive or negative. It was just there. But when I was teaching my class, we are getting our kitchen redone right now. Our landlord's redoing it. So as I was trying to teach my class, I'm trapped in a room, in the smallest room, quietest room in the house. Meanwhile, my cat's in there with me going, meow, meow, like as loud as he can. And when he's not doing that, there's literally drilling and sawing. So I'm like yelling at my students. I was like, Amazon is bad. And like, they're like, what? And they're just like little heads that are floating on screens and you don't know how to read the room or interact with them. It's like, it's trippy as shit teaching online in that way. And that's breaking me very fast, as is the ABA not putting one of our books on the Indie Next list, as is the fact that Rodrigo's agent yelled at me the other day, as is the fact that people keep sending me books and demanding that since I have so much spare time, I read their submissions, as is everything. Like, I don't know that I can make it through this, guys. I don't know that I can make it through this crisis. How you doing, Patrick?
I'm doing okay. Trying to get a dog off of me right now.
So I'll introduce you properly. Special guest, Patrick or P.T. Smith, dog walker extraordinaire, former bookseller, runner of the Best Translated Book Award, which was announced today of the long list, and fellow international literature enthusiast. Thank you for coming on.
Sure. I think I'm good. I mean, this it's a weird time, but I've been making the best out of it and kind of reading a lot and walking a lot with some dogs and finishing up stuff for the Best Translated Book Award. I was impressed with the judge's ability to stay focused and kind of hash out the long list during the kind of crisis we're in the middle of and being able to stick to it and get it together. So that was cool. And it was really fun to have it out there. It's a, thing that I've been a fan of it's been around for 13 years. I've probably been following it for 10 and then, intensely following it for, a few fewer years than that. And then involved the last like 5 or 6. So it's one of my favorite things out there. So I'm excited that we got to get it out today.
That's awesome. Thank you for all the hard work that you've done over all those years and making this happen. As I remember, even the beginning years, it's like wrangling cats or whatever your appropriate thing. And it can be tough, but it's a lot of work because the long lists are very long, like 25 titles, 10 poetry titles. That's a lot of books. And then
it's a lot of books. I mean, the judges do more work, honestly, which is why I sort of switched from this, like, from being a judge to kind of coordinating it. And also kind of why bookselling isn't always my favorite thing. I like to read what I want to read when I want to read it. And this being locked in my home is kind of letting me really explore that. Like, I'm just kind of like, I will now read this book that, like, I probably wasn't going to get to otherwise, but I have all this extra time. I may as well do something with it.
That's way better than me. I've just been getting drunk and watching Ancient Aliens. Come to find out, at 2 a.m, that is my jam.
It'll go really bad if I start getting drunk. My hangovers are exquisitely existentially painful. I just 3 beers and I'm going to wake up and be like, my body feels fine. My brain is telling me I want to die.
According to Ancient Aliens, you probably have an R type, an R negative blood type, which could be linked to the Atlanteans for about 10,000, 5,000, 10,500 years ago, which is also
I definitely
alien
can trace back to the Atlanteans.
So you might have Atlantean DNA, which is
Absolutely.
causing the hangover.
Yeah.
This is where your world goes. This is why Rodrigo's book is perfect for me right now, because I'm just like, yep, I'm on board. Let's do this.
Yeah. That's why my hangovers are totally fine. I'm just like, I'm an alien. I'm not an Atlantean at all. I'm just other. That's why things don't work out for me. In the world. Is your screen flickering really fast, by the way?
Is mine flickering?
Okay, it's just me. Or I'm insane.
We're all losing it. I mean, I've told you, Chad, but all I've listened to for the last 2 weeks, music-wise, is either classical music or the Grateful Dead, who I never listened to before this. So we're all in different ways completely losing it, but it's happening. It's definitely happening.
But we're here.
It's for the best. Yep.
We're all here.
Yeah.
In space. So for the Best Translated Book Award, we're not doing. I asked for listeners, long-time listeners, short-time listeners. Who cares? Any listener, but there's none of you right now.
Are there any?
Matter. The other podcast, I asked Tom Roberts if he wanted to do a 3% podcast. He's just like, why? I don't know when we'll have a chance to talk about the Best Translated Book Awards other than this.
Okay.
My question for you is, the list is available. I just posted it in the comments on the Millions, who announces this every year. And they announce the long list, short list, and the winners. And there are, as I said, 25 long list fiction titles, 10 long listed short or poetry titles. But a few of them are like obvious, or not obvious, but like to be expected. So I'll just read off a couple of the Vernon Subutex by Virginie Despentes, translated from the French by Frank Wynne. E.G. by Dasha Dernich, translated from the Croatian by Celia Hawksworth. Space Invaders by Nona Fernandez, translated from the Spanish by Natasha Wimmer, which was on the National Book Awards shortlist. Will and Testament by Vigdis Horth, from the Norwegian by Charlotte Barsland. That was a National Book Award one too. I'm not sure if the other ones are like really. The Memory Police by Yoko Ogawa, that's a common one. That was translated by Stephen Snyder. That has gotten a lot of attention. And Olga Tokarczuk's Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead, translated from the Polish by Antonio Lloyd-Jones. Those have all gotten named to other prizes. So like they've been on the PEN Booker or the National Book Award finalists, or like other prizes that are compatible. So putting those aside for the moment, all of which are great books, were there any from the judges, Patrick, that surprised you that made the list? Either or like we're just like, oh wow, this is a really interesting book to have made it this far.
Stalingrad seemed to come out of nowhere.
Interesting.
I would say Parade is one of the ones where it kind of surprised me, because it seemed like people were like, there are often books where it seems like a lot of people liked, but are still a little mixed on. Like they're like, oh, I like it, but probably not enough for the long list. And usually one of those books ends up making it to the long list. And I think Parade was one of the ones this year where like people are talking about it, but it doesn't seem like they're fully for it. And then suddenly enough of people like feel that way that it carries over. So that was a little bit of a surprise. In a weird way, Animalia was, because there were, some passionate people for it and then some indifferent people for it, but it still swung through. Total not surprise is Charco making it. People were very excited about Charco being around.
I was going to mention that one because I wrote about it, Die My Love, but it was one that like I think it was on maybe the Republic of Consciousness Prize, or there was attention that was paid to it, but it was not a translation prize. So I figured I'd let you bring it up. But yeah, I'm not surprised by that book either. The book's great. Like I wrote a whole long thing about it. I don't really remember anymore because that was pre-COVID time, which means that it was not real time.
No. Nothing. Well, I mean, this is the not real time.
I don't know, man. This is the new real time. I feel like I told my students this when I was losing my mind today. Every step of the worst part of this crisis is that everything that we implement is taking us one step further away from reality. That we're just mediating reality further and further and further to the point where like most people on Zoom now are using like you can change your background so it can be a
fake
background or a picture or whatever. It's a fake background. So now I had like one student at the end was playing around with this and he had like the Chinese flag behind his floating face. And so he's no longer in his house. Like I could see him in his house and then I could see him not in like this world in which he's like a total, like he's totally just a speaking head, like an avatar. And I was like, this is taking us one step further away from everything. Yeah, Patrick, cut your hair. This is a comment from a listener says, wow, Patrick, you haven't cut your hair in at least 2 weeks.
I just figured out how to see the comments. Yeah, no, my hair's I honestly like before this all happened, I was like, first like real warm day, I'm gonna go get my hair cut. And then the first warm day didn't come, and now you're not allowed to get your hair. I listened to the Grateful Dead to keep thoughts of shaving my head at bay. Because otherwise I just think about shaving my head and I don't want to shave my head.
So out of the cosmic DNA lottery of hair growth, like I am the clear loser out of this group. And yet like as this goes on, my hair is going to get longer and puffier and wavier and weirder. And I'm just giving up. Like I never care about how I look really. Like I don't care about clothing generally. Like I'd rather not have to deal with clothing if at all possible. Like I don't want to fitted and look nice or do anything that's good. I just rather just like have clothes so I can exist. I don't give a shit. But I tend to try and keep track of my hair. And this is going to put me over the edge one step further. I'm going to have like this weird flowing like waviness and then this giant bald spot. And like to go along with like my aging body and the fact that I'm just deteriorating my liver by the moment. Then this is going to be great.
Oh,
you want it to be dark, Patrick. I'm giving you what you want.
Did I say dark? I think I just said funny. I think I said funny. I led with funny. Do we want to try to find a way to segue to the book?
Yeah, 1 second. Brian, have you looked at the Best Friends of the Book Award long list? I know you probably haven't read a ton of the books, but I don't know if there are any that jumped out at you. There's one other one I want to bring up.
Yeah, I thought that book 77 was trash. The cover was ugly. I don't know why somebody would publish it in the first place. What is that even doing there?
Fuck that book. That book definitely not an Indie Next pick. I'll tell you that. Definitely not on any ABA radar.
No, I don't really like lists are fun and it's fun to like argue over them and stuff, but I don't really have usually really strong opinions one way or the other because I don't understand how something wins or how something loses sometimes because a lot of times there's so much stuff that has merit that didn't make it. There's stuff that maybe you kind of question that did. Like you can go either way. You can go either way with it. So it's just kind of fun to fill up some time and to give recognition. I'm just glad we're talking about smaller presses, international literature, like anything that's encouraging that I think is fantastic. So
no, I'm all for that. The ones when a prize feels like it's like top loaded or like tipping power, you always like that's the ones I'm like, this is dumb. But this list doesn't feel like that at all. But there are two books I want to mention out of that. One is The Boy. Special shout out to Emma Ramadan and Tom Roberge for having a
hell yeah.
So I wanted to mention that. And the other one I wanted to mention was World Editions having Welcome to America by Linda Bostrom-Knausgaard, translated by Martin Aiken on there, because I don't think that Karl Ove Knausgaard's book 6 was on the long list at all.
I think it was, or maybe it was 2 years ago because
it was. So like, go Linda, go World Edition.
Yes, I'm happy about it. But the only reason I'm saying I think it was is because a former judge is writing her why this book should win post on Welcome to America, and she said that part of the reason she wants to do it is to atone for helping Karl get on there one year. But I don't remember it, so I honestly don't know. There's a lot of books every year, so it's hard to remember them all.
Yeah, I have one last comment about that, and then let's move on to Rodrigo's book. The last comment about that is that the only source of institutional memory about the Best Translated Book Award is the Wikipedia page that's set up for it, which somebody maintains. And I don't know who that person is, But whoever it is, thank you. Continue doing it because I do it, and it's
I use it
check to see where things are.
Yeah, yep. I use it, especially like, you know, if I want to say, you know, this publisher's is their first time or this language is first time on there. That's always been a really useful way to check that.
Yeah,
and I didn't do it yesterday because just it's a weird time and I'm not always focused. But I mean, we have a book from Malay and Iban. That might be the first time. I'm not sure, but that's pretty cool. 2 books from Arabic, because that's often something people don't see on the list enough, and there's a lot of reasons for that. I think a lot of reasons why we don't see very many Arabic books on the list, but this year's got 2, which is great.
Yep. So, okay, so cool. Let's put aside the Best Times of Book Award. The short list will be announced in a number of weeks. The long list will be announced. Everything's virtual. Maybe we'll have a virtual announcement of both of these things. We could do that through the Millions or through or whatever. So yeah, but it's good. I'm glad that it's happening right now. It'll give you something to distract myself, and we'll be running why this book should win posts for all of these books if at all possible. I think we have most of it set up, but if you be sure and reach out because some more people to write for it. Let's talk about Fresán's The Dreamed Part. So we moved this time. Last week, the last 2 episodes covered the first section of the book in which the writer is talking about his dreams and about how he still has dreams and that they've been doing research on dreams, which led to the lack of them. And suddenly the second part makes a big change. And we're in a new perspective, a new voice, and a new sort of setup. And I almost think that it might be worth taking this one bit by bit because it is like, as we say we do, but like in a more bit by bit section, because I think it's a real curveball. As you started to get your footing at the end of part 1 and then walk into this, it's going to be like disorienting. And I think maybe walking through it might help a little bit. But before we do that, what is your general impression of the section that we read today, Patrick?
I mean, I think that curveball idea held. I mean, it definitely is. It's a huge curveball. And so what I was thinking of, so I've read this book before, and now I'm rereading for this. I probably will follow along the whole way, but we'll see. But this morning, I read all the way up and through where we're supposed to be today. And going in, I had the idea that a distinction between this and the invented part is he is less interested in you being able to follow along. I think I often say that Fresán is like a nicer Nabokov in that he wants you on board. He's difficult because his ideas are difficult, because what he's doing is difficult. He's not making it difficult in order to make it hard for a reader to fuck with a reader, to show a reader that he can bully their intelligence. He wants your intelligence to come along and figure out his intelligence. Nabokov was like, fuck you, I want to show how stupid you are. I want to bully you. I want to tease you. And I felt like the invented part did work to help bring you along. Whereas this does less of that work. And I feel like that fits something that's supposed to be more dreamlike, because you don't have a foothold when someone's telling you about a dream, or even in your own dream. If you are processing your dream or someone else's dream, you don't have context. Context comes up in this section. You don't have the same sort of context and footholds to interpret it and understand it as clearly. And so this book kind of operates that same way. You're a little more adrift than in the invented part. And when the section changes, it's like another dream starting. You're just kind of readjusting in a different way.
As I say, it's almost like the difference between writing and dreaming.
Yeah.
Yes. It's all about how you write. This one's about how you dream.
Yeah.
Hey, Brian, what do you think?
I liked it. It was a lot of fun. I'm not super familiar with the Brontë sisters, so that's something I want to go back and like go deeper into. Yeah, somehow I feel like I'm going to, but I really just kind of dug in and enjoyed the transition from dreams to night and light, and the play of light and dark in this. I thought was a really fun transition. And the same way where we learned about the karmas, I get the same feeling with the myth of the Tulpas and like this just bizarre, like the bizarreness of this family. So it was familiar but strange, right?
Yeah. I think this is called a teaser, but we can end this whole discussion on of this episode with a good blowjob joke.
Yeah, exactly. Sure.
We'll get there.
As Fresán would say, more of that to come.
More of that to come.
No pun intended or anything. But
a bad blowjob joke can lead to a good one. So,
yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Why don't you want to learn more about the Brontë sisters?
No, I do.
You do.
I'm very. Yeah, I haven't read much of them.
Okay.
And the last time I did read from them was in my undergrads, would have been like 2001, maybe. So it's been a long time. Yeah. But it feels so important to this. Like I feel like I have to patch that. I have to patch that gap in my knowledge to really appreciate what's going on.
I mean,
I was fortunate enough to know a little bit about Fitzgerald to hang in there in the last one, and this one's like, oh, I'm drowning, so I better. I have a little bit of time on my hands. I could probably read a couple Brontë books. So.
Okay, I'm gonna. So for anyone listening that like might be worried about that, there's two things that will happen. One is that there's an explanation of like the Brontë sisters and their familial relations and like how they functioned as a family, especially in relation to their dad, and about each one of them biographically. But the only book that's focused on is Wuthering Heights,
right?
And it's explained in incredible detail. Like
it carries you along.
School, but like I got all of it.
All right, I'll just Wikipedia it then. Fine.
Wikipedia.
I kind of loved all the Wuthering Heights stuff. I read Wuthering Heights in high school and college. Didn't like it in high school. And in college, I loved it. I read it in a course as two professors who changed my reading life in a really wonderful way. And we read Wuthering Heights, and in high school, we definitely read it as like a realist romance, British romance novel thing. Where everything's straightforward, and you're just following this romance plot and whatever. And then it wasn't until I had it in college where they're like, you guys know how weird this fucking book is, right? Like, you guys know this book is really, really, really weird. Like, very strange. Like, nothing like it, especially at its time. And so that really changed my take on the book, and I ended up loving it. And it was this thing where a lot of the classics didn't get it. They still were like, either it's a dumb romance I don't care about, or it's a great romance and I care about it. There was like a smaller group of people who were like, I like this weird fucking book. Is Heathcliff a monster? What is this? And I like that Fresán has a similar approach to like the way my teachers taught it. Like that, recognizing that this book is unique. It's a totally strange, unique book. It's not what people who want to watch the movie adaptations and dream of Heathcliff think of. Like it's something else.
Yeah, he leans into like what the weirdnesses are. It's sort of like in the Invented Part when he talks about the final Nabokov book. Is it Transparent Things?
Yeah.
The Transparent Things, and about how that is a very strange book. And when I read that, I was like, oh my God, you're right. This book, like you could just read it and be like, okay, it's fine. But the second you pick at it, you're like, wait a second, what's happening here? And Wuthering Heights has that. I remember I have a very visual and visceral memory of reading that in high school, and those versions where it was like a hardcover that was like a mass market book, but like made into a hardcover, like library bound with like weird plastic on top of it. And when you open it, the spine would crack and all the pages were yellowed. And that's how. Are you literally smoking weed on our podcast?
You were drinking whiskey.
You
were drinking whiskey. Have your whiskey.
Oh my God. We have definitely entered a new phase of casual on this podcast.
It's the end of the world. What are we supposed
Patrick,
to
that's
do?
still
by the way,
still illegal.
No,
that's
it's
still
not.
illegal in New York.
It's not illegal. Am I in New York?
We are. Now we feel bad.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry I made you feel bad.
I was joking to myself about just we're like totally bedraggled with like a one hitter hanging out of my mouth. Like, fuck it, guys. Like, this is over. But I don't think I can get into any characters right now at all.
Dude, he looks like John. He looks like John the Baptist. He's listening to Grateful Dead. You really give a fuck if he's taking a hit? Like, come on, calm down.
I mean, but it makes for great like podcasting. Like the fact that nobody can see you.
I'm just doing a bit, and also
this bit doesn't work for audio.
It's not the first time it's just the first time on video. You haven't noticed on audio.
That would be super funny if this was the first time you ever smoked weed. That would be the if you were just like, I'm going to smoke weed for the first time on
to start.
Okay, so the first part is the part that is the very left turn, in my opinion. Like chapter 1 of this, like page 119. I have a thing written down that the writer equals dreams of Penelope equals darkness. And this is leading us into the darkness. So it has two things that are worthwhile mentioning on the first page, I think. One is that it keeps talking about the light making the darkness and contrasting those two and emphasizing and leaning into this darkness light dichotomy, but in favoring the darkness, which is usually not favored. Like you're usually always like, then there was light, the light is good, the darkness is bad. And this is being like, why? Darkness is perfectly fine. But right there in the middle of 119 is wuthering, which is a word that you would never see, and except if you're going to reference Wuthering Heights.
Yeah.
He's so good.
It's so good. And then on this first section on page 120, the other thing that's really key is that that there is the reference to her bad brother's bad influence. So at the near the fourth paragraph from the end, or after all the foregoing, she finally sets aside the recurrent and oh so fraternal, her bad brother's bad influence, mania of turning everything into part of an enumerative list where there's nothing left to stain black. And so the light resorts to the most time-honored and easy and personal and primitive way of unmasking the light to let there be darkness, closing its eyes. So at that point, we know that this is Penelope. Like if you're paying attention, this is now Penelope. The bad brother is the writer, and then the sister is Penelope, who not the end of the invented part, but in her section of the invented part, has fled after lighting her house on fire when the young writer and the woman that he loved were trying to do a biography on her brother and are camping in their yard. She lights her house on fire, leaves into the forest, and is gone. And she had a son, the son that she had with Mantra, who is presumed to be dead at the time in the invented part, is presumed to have to be dead, and that possibly she has killed him. If I remember correctly, someone want to correct me on that? Go for it. But I think that's what's happening. Okay, so now Penelope's here, and that Penelope would be the speaker for this section, which I think is important because if we don't key in on that, this would be really confusing.
Correct.
Yes.
And is it taking place in a sanatorium?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And that is mentioned in a few pages too. So she's there about the darkness. Here comes the darkness, here overhead, following the night. And with the darkness and with the night, she lights up. Here her dream is life. Stella d'Or shines, splendid terrorist, immortal dead star. Her black light reaching us after so many years of being snuffed out. So this is the other character that's going to happen here is Stella d'Or, which is an invented character that we'll find out later is like cannot be in sunlight. Is like so she has to live in the darkness. Her skin is almost translucent, and if the sun touches her, she has a rare disease that's a real disease. That if the sun touches her, she will like essentially burn and scar, and that so she has to live in darkness. In contrast to the right,
that disease is called being English.
Yeah, fuck you, Great Britain. That's a great one.
No, but no, and it's interesting too because they mentioned her as being like unblemished, right? Like there's not a single, like it's just pure skin. There's not even a mark, a freckle, a mole, nothing.
Nothing.
So she's like with
And to jump ahead and try and frame this, so she is living in darkness because of like a crazy story that we'll get to, and then there are going to be a family of 3 sisters that are trying to write her story and are arguing about writing her story, and they live on the moon? Question mark?
Yeah, that's where else would you write it?
I don't know, man. It's Mars.
With Brother Birdie.
Brother
Birdie.
favorite. Brother Birdie is like, I feel like I'm gonna dress up as Brother Birdie for Halloween. Assuming there is Halloween. Could you imagine Halloween happening? No way.
Just a dead person in a spacesuit with no helmet. What would that? Oh man, that'd be a weird costume. That'd be cool.
That's actually an awesome costume.
Yeah, for sure. So we've got that sort of set up. So then we get the long bit, which has this interesting reference on pages. So it says like her resplendent voice still audible, like an echo reverberating against galaxies, saying things like, and there's a long quote that begins with, "You may say I'm a dreamer," which I suppose we should all sing, sort of that, so we can be like the famous celebrities who sang it on the YouTubes or whatever they did. No,
I don't know what you're talking about.
That's in my book notes right now. That stupid celebrity video.
Uh-huh.
Also,
you know what'll make people feel better is if like we're like super rich and living in the hills. Let's just sing to them from our mansions in the hills.
One of my students complained that Ellen DeGeneres had some video where she was like crying about how hard it is to be stuck in her house, and they were just like, "Fuck you."
Fuck her so goddamn much.
I mean, have kids. Like, every parent out there, every parent who hears this, you are doing the Lord's work. This is impossible.
Or be alone and don't know when another human being will ever touch you.
Yeah, that too.
Yes.
Everyone survived.
It's called That sounds to me like high school, but all right.
Yes. Yeah, that's the thing. I'm pretty used to it, so it's like not a particular challenge. It's just,
I mean, but at least in high school, it was okay if you knew you were going to touch yourself.
Right.
Sure. But here's how terribly out of touch celebrities are. Like just another example. Like people are scared. Like, we're all gonna know somebody that loses a loved one or something, and like trying to deal with that. And then like the first line, imagine there's no heaven. Well, then where'd my Nana go? Because I'm fucking pissed right now. Like, thanks a lot.
I didn't even get to see her because I couldn't go near her without getting contagious myself.
Yeah.
So
Thanks, Gal Gadot. I feel so
I think we should make a new rule that, Patrick, every time you say something that you feel is pot influenced crazy, you have to understate something like, "But I'm just high."
Okay, I don't think it's gonna happen because I'm gonna stay on topic.
Yeah. Okay. We've done a great job of that so far.
Yeah, I know. That was an attempt to segue back to it. All I wanted to add to the bits you read from were a thing that makes, as much as you feel more adrift in this one than in the invented part, how good of a writer he is, like on a sentence level, on the sound level, on just like having beauty in his words. That helps you get through this. Like, you're just like, okay, I don't know what you meant right there, but boy, the sounds of those words really made me enjoy that page. Like, I'm a little lost, but like there's real pleasure happening on the page here.
Double shout out to Will Vanderhyden for doing
Yes.
Because it would be easy. This is the sort of writing where it's easy to get lost and to think that you're just making something pretty that might mean something, but like you're not going to worry about it. But Will doesn't operate like that, and the book isn't trying to do that. I've seen those books before.
I see a lot of times on some, like I read the Asymptote Slush Pile. A lot of times on that, what is Brian doing?
Physical comedy is great for a podcast, guys.
That's my daughter. She's trying to poke.
It makes more sense now. Once
a cardboard tube.
I thought it was just a giant joint.
That's what I thought. He was trying to make fun of me in some way that I didn't get.
No, if you want to know how weird this is, the truth of why I have this tube is because we've been wrapping Christmas presents, our birthday presents, for an octopus's birthday that we had yesterday. We were pretending. And so we ran out of wrapping paper, and so now we have a tube because of an octopus birthday. That's the truth. I did not make that up.
I'm going to straight up steal a joke, but admit that I'm stealing it. So have either of you watched all of Avenue 5?
No.
One of my favorite jokes at the end is there's this like HR guy who's running this spaceship in space that's like gone off track and is going to be taking years to get back home, and everyone's losing their minds. And it's like an Elon Musk sort of stand up in some ways and like various other things. But this HR guy is supposed to be like, the together, keeping everyone positive. and he like loses his shit and tells everyone everything's a simulation and a bunch of people kill themselves. And then he's like depressed. He's like, I've been writing to my thoughts. He's like, thought 14. He's like, poor octopus, 8 arms, no hand. Fuck you, God.
I was telling my wife Katie the other day that I'm pretty sure Donald Trump just pulled the move off of Avenue 5, where it's like, they told me it was going to be 2 million, but I negotiated it down to 100 to 250,000. Yay me!
Avenue 5.
And like there's the one guy that goes, wait, why are you negotiating how many days it takes to get home? That doesn't work like that. Like he literally did that in the Rose Garden, man. It's like, what the hell? I wish this was something we could laugh at more, but this isn't funny. What are you doing?
This is no longer funny, guys. I don't know that it's funny. So anyway, so one of the things about this section where she's talking, though, that's interesting is the very bottom on 121, a bottomless sky, a deep pool from which to extract stories in which to weave the plot of the constellations, a house of extraterrestrial gods and alien divinities. I want for the night to be the novel that follows the bedtime story your parents read to you. And after you live throughout the long night, though your eyes are shut yet so far, yet so near, reading it, though you don't know yet how to read it. I want for the night to not just to be another hour on the clock, but another time altogether elsewhere. And this, the bottomless sky, the bottom of the sky being one of Rodrigo's book, feels like a nice reference there. And this idea of it being like, of the night being an alternate, almost alternate universe, alternate time, alternate way of being, is sort of setting it up as not in contrast to dreams, but another aspect of dreams. And that's where, like, if the invented part is like the writerly aspect of this trilogy, this is kind of that nebulous, dark, amorphous part of it. Like if the whole thing's set up to figure out how art comes to be, you have the one side where it's the craftiness, and invented part is super crafty, right? Like you get to see like how the pieces come together and like how everything, all the puzzle gets made. And here you feel like he's trying to tap into the undercurrent, the parts that we don't control, that are like, what happens when you dream or when it's night, when you're not in control anymore, after you've heard a story and then you go dark, like what then happens? That is the magic, the part that like, then you process and create a story out of. And I'm going to tell you guys, I had a dream last night that I had to take a Delkey intern to Europe right now in the middle of this crisis to have these editorial meetings. And it was a Delkey Archive intern specifically. And I was told by Edwin Frank of the New York Review of Books that this Delkey intern he knew, and he was like, oh yeah, he was raised as a goldfish, so you need to be careful with him. And I thought I woke up and was like, that's the most amazing insult I think I've ever dreamt, is that he was raised as a goldfish.
Raised as a goldfish.
I'm not sure but it feels cutting.
You're going to find a moment in your life where you're like, no, this is what it means. I can tell this person you were raised by a goldfish. And
raised as a goldfish.
Raised as a goldfish, yes.
Yeah. I'm going to do it.
It is better.
So you get the little bit of a Stella there afterwards. And then they have all this bit about like whether or not like Stella says is true or not, or the historian who's writing them. And we get a lot of references to the fact of like that this is Penelope. All the clues on like page 124 are like the clues that this is Penelope. That her another bad brother's bad influences. She's also a writer, so on and so forth. That she hates Thomas Alva Edison. There's the great Karl Marx quote. But then we get to 126, and this is an important turning point, I think. And 126 is where it says that isn't the tone she wants for this. That tone is already known, had already been heard. The sister tells her 3 other sisters with, yes, an accusatory tone. A tone that reminds her, the chronicler of the comings and goings of Sildor, of the grim and grating tone of her grim and grating bad older brother. And it feels like this is an attempt at this moment to try and make it not written the way that the writer was writing, and to establish something else for Penelope's way of telling her particular story.
So, do you think that ends up being a successful attempt, or does it?
I think the attempt is not here. I think the attempt is coming. I think it's indicating the desire for an attempt to do something that's not that. That voice exists. That the idea of like enumerating these lists of creating all these like all of the tricks of the invented part and of of the dream part so far that the writer uses are they've been done, they've been circled through. It would be easy to fall into that pattern, and the attempt to try and break that pattern to some degree. And I'm going to hypothesize wildly here and say that that one of the things that happens sort of happens with The Bottom of the Sky too, to like break out of that mold of writing, is that there's a play that goes on in Fresán's work with viewpoints and secondary viewpoints. So we have Penelope talking about Stella, and then in the next bit we're going to get Stella's story being written by 3 tulpas on the moon. So you then, by switching the perspective to their perspective writing about Stella, but knowing that Penelope's really the one that's in charge of this, that triangulation allows for a distance that gives him a new point of view to write something that's different.
Right.
I feel like someone else should talk a lot. I feel like I've been on all day.
I mean, you are very on this, and part of what I'm struggling is it sounds like you are talking past this point a decent amount, right? Like where we are in the book.
A little bit.
Yeah, so like it's because like I'm not seeing there's definitely a different style to this to the invented part so far, but it still is there's probably more similarities than difference while still being different, because I think the invented part is more structured. When crafted is the word you use that I really responded to. That's an incredibly crafted book. Like the level of everything being planned out and the pieces working together is perfectly detailed. And this definitely already is looser. And I honestly can't remember where it goes from here. So how much it fits into your theory and how much it doesn't.
Would you say this is more of the Grateful Dead compared to this is more of the Grateful Dead compared to the Beatles? The Grateful Dead compared to Pearl Jam. Pearl Jam is like very much a very specific format. No. Dude, the guy in our kitchen listens to 90s rock constantly. I heard Crackers Low the other day, and I was like, this is the pinnacle of 90s music writing. Where like the chorus is, hey, hey, hey. It's like being stoned. I was like, yeah.
God. Pearl Jam's not complicated enough. I guess let's say Pink Floyd. Invented Part is Pink Floyd.
Invented Part is Pink Floyd, and this is the Grateful Dead.
Honestly, I'm going to say that works, because this, the references, the constant stream of references in the invented part, almost felt like a tick, like crafted and perfected, but an involuntary tick. When they feel also at times involuntary here, but in a more subconscious way, in a more they just crop up.
Yeah.
And then they kind of crop up again. Like there's a little moment that it's at the end of the section, and I love it a lot, because it tells you how often he's using references and how easily you could miss them. Like he just throws them in there so smoothly, so involuntarily for him, that they're part of this consciousness that it's hard to catch them sometimes. But on 151, midway down, and that he has seen things like you wouldn't believe, and that he'll never let them be lost like tears in rain. Now, most people are going to get that. Like, absolutely, without a doubt, most people are going to get that. But the next page,
what is it?
That's Rutger Hauer in the Hitchhiker movie.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
I was wondering where you were going to go. I'm like, I know Brian's going to get this wrong, but exactly how is he going to get this wrong? Okay, he's starting right, but there we go. Okay. But the next page, he returns to the reference, expands it, and then does something different with it. And it, I don't know, that I like how these gestures come about in this book, and there are ways it's similar to the invented part, but it's faster. It's a lot faster. Everything's faster.
There's a lot more information coming at you.
Yes.
Really
This book is way quicker.
Not being meted out in a way that you can structure it. Like it's like deconstructed information in a way that, I don't mean to sound postmodern, but to sound like it's undemarcated. So like in the invented part, we had each one of those chapters was like very specifically achieving a piece. And in this, there's an intent to like disrupt that normal flow, and to do something that's like more of a God, I don't want to keep using Grateful Dead reference, but it's more jam bandy in a sense that it's just like going, but it is way crafted. Like it's very
obviously. He's hiding the craft a little bit more. It's just and I think it's in the first episode you guys did, but maybe it was the second episode. Do you have porn tucked in your book, Chad?
I have this. For anyone who's watching it, this is my note to myself last night. And if anyone can decipher whatever the
Tolkien,
I will give you money. I think it says creatures comes in comfort with tendency. That doesn't make any sense. I don't know.
But in the early on in the book, he starts talking about how much he doesn't like dialogue, and he avoids dialogue, and he thinks the flaws with it. But then the next however many pages is dialogue, and so like there's a jam bandy riff thing to that, but it's done with intentionality of, oh, I'm bad at this. This is a weakness. This is a way to actually make it different, as opposed to some bands that just do the same thing over and over and over and over while thinking they're riffing. Like he's changing, but he's doing it very aware and crafted.
So
I'm using that word obsessively now because I'm stoned.
That's fine. There we go. I got it.
I got it in.
Knew it. So does anyone want
like what you were saying, Chad, though, with the different perspectives on telling the narratives? Like, and I've been trying to process that as we've been talking right now. But then like the reference on 123 at the bottom to the firebombing of Dresden.
Yeah.
Which is Slaughterhouse 5 and Kurt Vonnegut, and how do you tell a story? How do you tell histories? It's we'll use aliens and we'll go through time. We'll time travel with aliens, obviously. Like, how else would you tell it, right? And then the idea of like this story going to a moon base, and like it's just another way of kind of adding another slight like layer or breadcrumb as to the way that like this isn't going to be a narrative that you're used to, or like he could have gone anywhere with it. And he chooses to use a Kurt Vonnegut reference, to slip in a Kurt Vonnegut reference there.
And then Kurt Vonnegut reference is followed by multiple references to her bad brother.
That's nice.
Yeah. So trying to set it apart, the opposition of creating the character and the character Penelope, who is a writer, as we'll find out, in a far more successful than the writer.
Very surprised by that.
Is like, yeah. So, yeah. Do either of you want to recount like Stella D'Or's origin story for fun? It's so. I have a take.
Something to do with the words for snow. I'm not sure. and her amazing father.
Okay, so I've got a take on that. So, in the first one, if you remember, in the invented part, and in the writer's like biography, his parents are these glamorous people who go around doing ads, right? And they're superstar ad makers, where they go and like they're beautiful and they go to like various places of the world and they shoot ads for, I forget what. I want to say a cigarette company, because I used to have a vision of these cigarette ads that I would make and it was similar to that. But I don't remember if that's true. But they're ad people, and they're glamorous and they're highly visible. And in this case, Stella D'Or being like an invention of Penelope, right? So like she's not a real person. Stella D'Or is not real. Her history is being written by Penelope. Let's assume. I guess I don't know. I assume that she creates then a father, no mother, but a father who's extremely famous for being able to be a linguist, and is so like famous and charming and beautiful and handsome that he hosts Saturday Night Live as a linguist and makes like linguist. Like this,
and his monologue was masterful.
Funny shit. That's funny shit.
The monologue is always the best part.
Yeah, I don't even watch the show anymore, to be honest. But I believe so dad is like masterfully known as like very beautiful, very handsome linguist, who then decides to go off and become like, they refer to him as like the Indiana Jones of linguistics, who has to go find this special magical word that no one else knows, the new word for snow up on the North Pole, and like is found months later with a baby, and that's Stella D'Or, and he's protecting her, keeping her from the light. And you get this whole long great bit about like what it is in the Arctic. Like it's only dark for 4.5 months, but it's like the gloaming for a certain time, and then it's also like light for a long time. And he is discovered with this baby. He never speaks again, and she becomes this creature that people want to, this figure, this woman who people want to write about because of her luminescence and her like her specific disease and the fact that she can't see light and that she's therefore has like some special sort of story to be told. But Penelope is writing that because it keeps saying like the writer who's writing me, she who is writing me, blah, 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 blah. So the or is like not real, right?
Yeah.
But the dad sort of maps. Like if you take the writer's dad and then reinvent that, like if you were to take like your life experience, let's assume that the mom and dad of the writer were the mom and dad of Penelope, were these like figures that were like these 60s amazing, you know, beloved, you know, lusted after advertising figures, and then dream that. The dream of that could be someone who's like a linguist, who's also the beautiful person that finds a special baby, and the special girl, only a girl, there's no one else involved. The special girl that everyone's going to pay attention to is the one that he protects and brings back to the center of like of his world, which is a bit of wish fulfillment too.
I totally buy Stella d'Or as a fictional version of Penelope. I mean, much the way you know, it's easy to find characters that are the writer having a version of himself, or you know, we see that throughout the whole book.
Yes, and that this does sort of like tweak that, right? Like within a fiction, it's like second level meta, where like if Rodrigo's saying the writer is not me, the writer's life is not my life, but it has parallels. Penelope is saying I'm a writer too, and my writing will not be my life, and it'll be this thing. So you've entered into like a fictional character inventing a fictional story for fictional.
Yeah.
She's dreaming it.
And also it doesn't all the light and the luminescence doesn't go too far from the desert and the diamonds in the desert that Penelope finds in the invented part, which is also referenced in this section anyways.
Yep.
The desert is referenced, and that's another thing. The references, he starts to reference himself and the invented part the way he's referencing the rest of pop culture. It just is there embedded, and you're finding it and stumbling on it. And sometimes he's, you know, really revealing it, but other times it's just kind of sitting there for you.
Yeah. One of my favorite bits is the very last sentence. It's not even a sentence. I'm just going to use the phrase where Stella d'Or is like, who it is who's writing me, in the last section of this. So in the first part, we had who dreams the dreamer, or who's the dreamer dreaming the dream, sort of a Lynchian version. And here we have like, who's the writer writing me? Like we're getting into a different sort of textual territory of creation again. And I really like that phrase for some reason. Like it really appeals to me. But yeah, so we put that aside then. And then the second section of this part, which starts on page 140, introduces the three Tulpa sisters, Alex and Charlie and Eddie Tulpa. Are you guys familiar with the Tulpa stuff? What Tulpas are?
No, I know. No. I needed to look it up, but I don't remember.
Okay. So when we were watching Twin Peaks: The Return, boom, minute 53:20, guys, that I mentioned Twin Peaks. So anyone who had 53:20 on your board, you win. this week's game of when does Chad talk about Twin Peaks? So they show up. The idea of a tulpa shows up in Twin Peaks: The Return, and when it did, Rodrigo emailed me and was like, "You'll never believe this, but tulpas are the big part of the dream part." And Will sent this section, was like, "Yeah, it's very true." So tulpas, I'll read the Wikipedia because I don't want to fuck this all up. Tulpa is a concept in mysticism and the paranormal of a being or object which is created through spiritual or mental powers. It was adapted by 20th century theosophists from Tibetan Sprulpa, I'm not sure I'm saying that right, which means emanation or manifestation. Modern practitioners use the term to refer to a type of willed imaginary friend, which practitioners consider to be sentient and relatively autonomous. So the idea of a tulpa is that your idea of a person or thing becomes real and enters into the world. So in Twin Peaks: The Return, Dale Cooper's, there can be, what's her name? Oh God, Diane. is a tulpa who's not real. It's just an idea. And there's various people who become ideas that take on physical manifestations, but are an idea of evil, an idea of servitude, an idea of various things, and that are that functioning in the world. And you wouldn't know that they're not real, but they're just idea people. And so these three people are the tulpas, clearly invented manifestations from, I believe, Penelope's mind. And they are based on the Brontë sisters, using unisex names for three sisters who could also be treated as three men. Like the Brontes had used various pseudonyms at times too, or like George Eliot did, obviously. But that these are creations of like who's going to tell the Stella d'Or story. Like if Stella d'Or is a created figure of Penelope, who gets to write her story as the way to tell it? And we get one of those here, and it's from Eddie. And this is the part that I was alluding to, where that Eddie section is a story. So they broadcast in this imaginary world from the moon. They live there, and they broadcast stories to Earth about Stella d'Or. And Eddie tells a story. Eddie's story is not the writer's ticks. It doesn't have the writer's ticks at all. It doesn't have the enumerated lists. It doesn't have the like more on that later. It doesn't have any of those things. It's like a story about an astronaut, or like a astronaut's son out in like the Sonora desert, and being on the moon. And it's more about like relationships between parents and children, and very much like a stark sort of sci-fi feeling thing. That's not necessarily the self-referential maniacism. That's not a word. It is now. Like the what is it? Mania. The mania of like this personality in the list making. That's not here. This is a different sort of writing. So when it references that there's going to be a different sort of writing, I feel like it's like signaling this section.
Okay. Yeah, and I buy that. I don't know what to say besides I buy that. That I do think that like he is working against his habits while still being himself. You know, Fresán's still doing very much Fresán things in this. The typewriter voice allows him to, you know, continue to do whatever he wants when he wants. But like it does really seem like he's announcing what he's going to do and then doing it. But in sort of a tricky at times way, which is a very Nabokovian thing to do. Like, you know, tell you that he's doing it, tell you he hates dialogue and then do all dialogue, or tell you, oh, I'm done with lists, and then actually avoid lists for a while.
Yeah. And like the two other sisters disapprove of her version of things because she's crazy and like does things weird and that people don't want to do.
One, right? She's
experimental. She's too avant-garde. She's not giving people what they want. She's like broadcasting to them like something that's like too challenging and that's not moored. The word moored comes up a lot in this section, which goes back to Wuthering Heights in some degree. Like there's a lot of Wuthering Heights like references word level here, which are very interesting and like very specifically placed so that when that comes up next section, like it's not going to be a surprise, and it'll tie some of these things thematically together, I believe.
Yes. I don't know what to say besides agreeing with you.
The last part then is the blowjob joke.
I've heard that joke. I've heard that joke before. Have you heard it before? This?
Oh my God. Okay, so we have a question. We have a question from the audience asking if we coordinated how many buttons we'd undo in our shirts, and the answer is yes. We all undo the same number of buttons beforehand. We made sure that was all. Yeah, do it, Brian. Undo that button. Take it off.
Take it all off. I've got a new neighbor that never wears a shirt.
Oh, that's not good.
Whoever that is, I love.
It's across from me. Yeah, it's awesome.
I've decided that since there's no one outside anymore, I don't need to wear anything. Like when I walk around the
house, not necessary.
There's no one on the street.
So, like, do you think this is a little hint then on maybe not so subtle hint on 126? When, before we get to our Mr. Gorky or whatever his name is, nobody listens to him. Talking about her brother. Nobody listens to him. Firing blanks, bleeding sheep that refuse to jump over the fence of insomnia, a rant to be delivered. Like that it's on 126 on the bottom paragraph.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
It's like something that you could easily read over, but then in that context that we're speaking of, it becomes very like Exhibit R, whatever.
Right, and that's
the list of.
Yep.
Like that's his little brilliance of how much stuff is just hiding right out in the open, which it's a trick Nabokov is admired for. I mean, again, these two they really live side by side to my level of they're just doing things that other people are not even beginning to touch.
And like what I love about that line, Brian, that I paid attention to was the the definition of like the voice. So firing blanks, bleeding sheep that refuse to jump over the fence of insomnia. Insomnia is going to be real key here.
Oh yeah.
A rant to be delivered, if possible, in a kind of aristocratic and decadent and swampy lingo with bourbon or vodka or chewing tobacco or snuff on the breath. Like that is like the rant being delivered through those criteria is so wonderful. Like, I love it. I don't have any more buttons to unbutton, man.
I can start unbuttoning this shirt's buttons.
Anyone who's listening to this, watch the YouTube because you're gonna get something. Like we're all in isolation.
We're all going a little crazy.
Little something, little visual satisfaction.
And then
you know what I'm saying.
And then with the talk of, there's a few mentions of Stella and her disease. The disease that she has, is it the paleness and the inability for the need to stay in darkness?
It's referenced on page.
Like there's like the funny joke on 27, right? The voice of Stephen Hawking, Oscar for best disease.
I was really nervous.
Will there be a film about Stella d'Or's disease? Tricky, if not impossible, because it would have to be a film of total darkness in which not even the projector beam would light up, right? Like, but it mentions in a couple other places as well. But
so 129 references the diseases. I don't know. Whatever, someone else say it. It's like 12 lines down. That for me being Stella d'Or, emerging and being touched by the sunlight is an absolute impossibility because were I exposed to its rays, my skin, ravaged by the pincers of cancer, would fall from my bones. And their bodies, people who have this disease don't tend to live past 20, and their bodies end up crisscrossed with marks and ulcers, so that they're brought up under invisible lashes, tracing a map that doesn't lead to any treasure. And I don't have a single freckle or mole anywhere on my skin, which is what you referenced before. I wonder if that's like what kind of, you could read a lot of metaphors into that too, to take a Nabokovian sort of approach of like the untouched, unblemished versus the written upon by the world and like permanent mark sort of idea, that she is like a clean sheet. She's like a pure dream. She's a pure untouched skin, untouched human that like if you pay attention to her, if you shine a light on her, it destroys her. She's a dream that if you look at, it goes away. I'm trying to tap into your brain, Patrick.
Yeah.
I'm trying to associate that with the way that Penelope in the invented part really seemed to live in the shadows of the author and feel. She was the birder in the attic. She was the woman in the attic. She was the left behind. She was the nothing. And now you have Stella d'Or be, the opposite of in the shadows, be all light, all visibility. Or not, sorry, no, have to be in the shadows, right? She can't have light, but she is pure. And then also, like the part of the reason I've been having trouble replying to Chad's ideas is it keeps on wanting to make me go later in the book, what I remember later in the book. And that part of that is her being a successful author.
Yeah. I'm trying to keep all those spoilers off.
I know.
I mean, it's giving everyone the tools, I hope.
Yes. Okay.
I haven't thought of. But then, so then we get our blowjob joke. You could probably tell this best, Brian.
I'll paraphrase it.
Yeah.
So
my favorite part of it is that, like, makes it feel like it's going to be about the moon landing being fake.
Yeah, they set up it's going to be fake, and like they make, and there's like a double setup too, where holier than thou Buzz Aldrin is taking a piss in his spacesuit, and so it's like messing up the way he speaks, right? So it's giving you some body part humor, just like another primer for it, but. Somewhere we can hear on the transcripts, if you go back and listen, you can hear "Congratulations, Mr. Gorski," and it has the CIA, NSA, FBI, NASA. They're all trying to figure out who the fuck is Gorski? What is this? What does this all mean? And really all it was is when growing up in Wampakoneta, Ohio, Neil Armstrong got his ball in the backyard somewhere and of his neighbor, and he went to go get it, and he overheard Mrs. Gorski yelling at Mr. Gorski. She says, "Blowjob? You're going to get a blow. I won't give you a blowjob until that Neil Armstrong kid lands on the moon," or whatever. And so, ta-da, congratulations. That's the joke.
That joke was told by the brother. What's his name? I forgot already. Birdie, yeah, Birdie. Who takes over. So after we have Eddie's long, beautiful thing about the desert and being on the moon and all that we could get into, but we don't have time for. Maybe we'll revisit later. But after all that, then we have Birdie come over and just take the microphone and be like, "Hey, I'm crazy. I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to tell you about Neil Armstrong." If there's one character I relate to in this book, it's
the idiot brother.
Yeah, the idiot brother who's high on moon juice and walking around telling dick jokes. That's
from Green.
100%
from Green, and it's we had the green cow milk, and now you have the green potato vodka. So
we need to make moon juice a moon man juice drink for this book.
Okay, we'll come up with something.
So, anyways, we've gone pretty long. Do you guys have a favorite line that you want to share? I've got one for you, Patrick. I want to start because I don't want you to steal my line, and I want it to be 100% dedicated to Patrick Smith, unbuttoned and all. For every, you should unbutton the button for every part of this that you like. And it's so easy to lie to a dog, and it's impossible to lie to a cat. And that's why parents, in general, choose dogs and not cats as pets for their children, because parents lie a lot to their children, and then children lie to their parents.
It can be hard to tell a good lie to a dog. Simple lies, fake throwing a ball is easy, but there's
I told a bit the other day where I've been working on that stand-up bit about not liking dogs for God knows how many years, and there's always little fractions to it. But I think the new one is that the new beginning is that when we talk about feeling crappy, we always say that we feel like dog shit. We never say we feel like cat shit. We feel like dog shit. And I think it's because subconsciously we realize that dogs are disgusting, filthy animals, and that we don't want to feel like they're shit because their shit's gross. We don't want to, we feel like human shit seems better than dog shit. Dog shit's so much worse than human shit. But you would never be like, "Hey man, I feel like cat shit." Because someone would be like, "What? You're like a hard rock? You're a little hard rock?" No, you're a filthy, disgusting, oozing thing that's shitting out itself. Chad's anti-dog, and now we've lost all our viewers.
No, I'm none of what you said is wrong. I love dogs, but everything you said tracks. So
fair.
Fine.
Favorite line from either of you?
As a couple I could pick. I did think about that one, but I'm gonna go with this one. On the top of 137. You remember a story faster and better than a name or a bright spot twinkling through light pollution and atmospheric disturbance. And better, why try to find a scientific explanation when you've got emotional motivations for the instability of the moods and concentration of those who inhabit the celestial firmament. I picked it because it's just a time where there's some pretty sounds in that sentence that I liked. But he also is touching all the things he plays with. He does dismiss scientific explanation here, but he's seeking out scientific explanations throughout this. There's times he's giving the science behind something and then dropping it and moving on. And also, because as smart as this book is, as funny as this book is, as beautiful it is, there's serious emotional content to both of these books. There is a wounded, beating heart at these books that makes them more than just an intellectual game. And I like that.
That came up last week with the subtle this. I do want to mention though, Patrick, that if you play Touch of Grey by Grateful Dead, as you read that passage, it maps out exactly.
Okay, I'll try it. I am going to go on a walk and listen to a live show after this, probably.
There you go. Do it. If you take a live show and the reading of the dream part and play them, they synchronize perfectly.
I believe you.
It's like a lava lamp.
What show though? Cornell 77.
Sure. I don't know. And Brian says yes, so yes. What's your line, Brian?
I'll keep it brief. Just feels fitting for the ending of the night and the times we're in. Rest in peace, Mr. Armstrong, Mr. Gorski, and Mrs. Gorski, and congratulations to all of us who remain. And good night to all of you, including my love, wherever she may be.
Nice. Very nice.
So
And
good.
stop sending me hentai, Chad. I'm not into it.
Oh, come on. Come on. I'm waiting for the
Good night and good luck.
when Corn bombs one of my Zoom classes. That'll be God, these times, man. These times. So next week we're going to be covering pages 156 to 202, and I believe Rachel Cordesco is going to join us.
Cool.
Those.
Excellent.
He is at home with 3 children.
That sounds awful.
So if you think I'm afraid, we'll be totally together. She's gonna look like a genius and like totally a saint and like all set, and I'm gonna be at the end of my rope like usual. So, anyways, Brian, you want to plug your book or anything?
Nah, nobody's gonna read it, so that's fine. Joytime Killbox. You can get it on Amazon with a side of flu. Go ahead and get it.
Yeah.
There. Or if you want it to be clean and unblemished, you can get it from a local bookstore and have them hand deliver it to you. So do that. Joytime Killbox is available wherever books are sold.
Right on, Patrick. Plug something. Plug the
Go check out the long list for the Best Translated Book Award on the Millions today. Read some of those books. We need a couple more people to write some Why Those Books Should Win posts. Not very many, but if there's a book on there you love, get in touch and see if it's one of the ones that still needs someone to write on. Otherwise, just read those books. It's a great list. The jury's brilliant. Every year, the jury kicks ass, and it's awesome. I'm proud of them.
I would like to instead of plugging something, say I don't care about the Indie Next list anymore. And you should buy books through bookshop.org, but buy only books that aren't on there. So do that. I would also like that. Yeah, that's all I'm gonna do. I've been watching old movies. I watched Sunset Boulevard the other night. That was interesting. I'd recommend watching that movie if you're looking for something that's pre-apocalyptic. Nice. It's a good movie. Also, one of my favorite movies of all time now is Bob and Carol and Ted and Alice, which if anyone knows what I'm talking about, you're gonna be like, what the fuck is going on? But I watched that the other night, and I think that everyone should watch that movie. It's wonderful. It is a very weird. I have conservatively 4 hours of material to talk about with that movie. So go forth, read books, read the Invented the Dream part. I don't even know what we're doing anymore. We'll do that next Wednesday. I've got another Zoom meeting right now. So
have fun.
Bye.
Bye.